Season 2 was just released and it brought many changes. In this video I'm going to compile the biggest changes, and to keep it short, I'll be focusing more on functional changes and not so much on the numerical tweaks. Alisa received a new +7 on block mid from her flying chainsaw stance with dual boot forward 1+2. The first hit of her low is now only -12 on block and +6 on hit, which gives her a new low risk mix-up from the stance. She also gains many new stance transitions to facilitate this mix-up. Asuka gained a new 13 frame Punisher with up forward 1-2. If she has her install available, she can deal 57 damage with it and regain the charge. Azucena's while running 3-2 can now transition into Liberator stance with more plus frames on block. She can now also use jumping attacks during the stance, and she gained a new high crushing, counter hit launching, plus on block mid from the stance. Also, her down 1 is now ridiculous at +4 on block. Bryan received a new 12 frame Punisher with 4-1 that turns into a backsway 50-50 on hit. He can now transition into crouch after down 2 and also has a new full crouch snake eye low that deals massive damage. His +7 on hit, -13 on block and wall splats on counter hit. Claudio's new move, forward 3-2, can guard break if you hold the second hit while having Starburst. This will give you a new charge and +14 frames for a guaranteed follow-up. His up forward 2 is now +4 on block, and his back 3-3 regained counter hit properties on the second hit while also being less punishable on block. Clive turns out to be a big Mortal Kombat fan. He can now shoot out a pulling projectile with quarter circle forward 1, and has an advancing +2 on block mid that transitions into a 60 damage throw on counter hit. Devil Jin's Hell Sweep now fully launches in heat. Down forward 1-2 was turned into a natural combo, and they also gave him a -13 on block mid follow-up with down forward 1-4 to make his down forward 1 slightly less terrible. Back 1+2 also became a pretty decent move, being +3 on block now. Dragunov's while standing 1+2, his 12 frame crouching punish is now a heat engager that launches on heat dash for some reason. Feng's fishhook, his back 4, now has a high extension. It's a natural combo, but back 4 by itself is now -10. His 13 frame crouching punisher while standing 1-3 is also a heat engager now, but unlike Dragunov, this does not yield a full launch on heat dash. Hwoarang received a high crushing homing low that deals good damage, is +6 on hit and -14 on block. He now also has a new 12 frame crouching punisher with while standing 1-4. He also gained a 14 frame +4 on block mid string with right flamingo 4-3. Jack now has an install effect that buffs certain Gamma Howl attacks, and a new Gamma Howl move that promotes very exciting gameplay. Jin's up forward 2 as well as 2-1-4 are finally punishable, but the 2-1-4-4 low cancel is much safer now to promote mixing it up. Down 2 no longer has counter hit properties. He received improved stance mix-up capabilities like many other characters, and massively improved combos thanks to his new aerial tailspin additions. Jun now has a full screen homing mid attack from her healing stance that is +6 on block, putting her into Izumo stance for a mix-up. She can now also fire projectiles at will, which will heat engage and wall splat. Once her new meter mechanic, called Kazamehameha Essence, reaches a power level of over 99, your projectiles will have much more range and deal significantly more damage, even on block. Kazuya still had a weakness, so they gave him a new long-ranged safe homing mid in up 1. You can now transition into crouch dash after sidestep 1+2 for easier mix-ups. Tsunami kicks are no longer negative on hit, and he gets a new hit conformable mid string in sidestep 4-1. His heat was also in dire need of buffs. His new homing mid gets a follow-up move for 40 damage, and if it hits, it refunds the heat spent. Some other moves will also replenish his heat meter on hit now. His Hell Sweep is one of these moves. So if you're almost out of heat, you can still Hell Sweep and then Heat Smash. But it's okay, because they did also nerf his Hell Sweep. It no longer hits enemies behind him. King now gets homing frozen heat. But Jaguar Step 1 no longer gives 50 damage worth of follow-ups on normal hit, which I thought was like the best change of the season. But on a closer look, it's actually a normal hit launcher now. Even without heat, you just have to wait for the spark. He also gets a bunch of new other Jaguar Step transitions, so good luck guessing. Back 1+2 at the wall now guarantees a follow-up and a wall combo. And they also gave him a new high damage wall combo string that leads to even more mix-ups. But to be fair, they did nerf muscle armor on the recovery and damage reduction, and also the alley kick frames on hit for some reason. Lars now has down forward 1 extensions. Down forward 1-1 is a high natural combo follow-up that can transition into dynamic entry, and also has a safe mid follow-up as a third hit. Down forward 1-3 is an unsafe mid follow-up to cover the high. Back 4 now also transitions into a grab even on normal hit, but it deals significantly less damage. Law also gets a down forward 1 extension. A high damage natural combo high nunchuck attack that wall splats and is powered up in heat. He also gets a single quick tracking high and an advancing jumping mid that deals high damage and is neutral on block. DSS forward 1 is no longer safe, which is great, but now that DSS forward 3 is no longer a power crush, it became safe and covers as a new safe mid option. Least down forward 2 no longer high crushes. Down forward 3-2-3 is no longer a meme, is now a 14 frame hit conformable, counter hit string and a heat engager. Forward 2 is sped up to 15 frames and yields good damage on normal hit if you hit with the just frame version. While standing 2-3 is now an instant tornado launcher, which might actually be a nerf on top of being slightly less safe now. Liu's evasive box stance actually received a lull. It was fine as a no mix-up stance for almost 2 decades, but that's a blasphemous concept in Tekken 8. It has now reinvented itself as one of the best mix-up stances in the game. His K&K heat smash is no longer a heat smash, it's an install now and can potentially be used multiple times per round. Nina took some massive nerfs to her down forward 1, but in turn she now gets to use her running 1+2 from crouch dash and has many more ways of transitioning into crouch dash, like 1+4 forward, forward 2 forward, letting her run you over with massive frame advantage and chip damage if you ever stop contesting her. They also try to expand on her gunning identity by adding some shitty gun strings. Paul finally received a 10 frame Punisher after 30 years of 1-2s, a new full crouch low, an officially safe death fist in heat, and his down 1+2 guarantees another one on counter hit for massive damage. Reina now has a good safe low from her back 3 and her wid step stance that has a guaranteed follow up on counter hit. She can also access her back 3 stance with her 10 frame punish 1-2-2 down for more frame advantage and an easy mix up with her new low. Forward 2 now also guarantees Sentai 2 on hit, and she received many other stance buffs, including her Heaven's Wrath heat smash now being just a heat consuming move. Shaheen's key stance moves received some upgrades, and he gained a very powerful new low that high crushes and is +4 on hit. Other key lows and his 10 frame Punisher took a massive damage nerf though. Steve was clearly too unsafe of a character, so now they also let him block while weaving during a string, just to make sure that your weaves also beat homing mids on top of every other move in the game. More attacks also transition into Lionheart's stance for either a guaranteed heat engage with Lionheart 1 or a mix-up on block. He also received a safe, quick, long-range mid-high attack that jails, wall splats, and can be powered up in heat for more damage and +11 on block. Victor now has a running low that deals more damage than his running mid and is only -14 on block. On hit, it puts him into stance at +4 for stance mix-ups. He received a bunch of stance transitions, for instance his 10 frame Punisher 1-1-2 can now transition into Perfumer, which lets you go from +3 to +7 for even better stance mix-ups. EI down 1 is a new heat engager mid that's only -2 on block, while standing 3 1+2 was sped up and can now be used as a 14 frame Punisher. His forward 1+2 is now +3 on block. It used to be -9 on a full screen mid heat engager that deals massive damage and hits grounded. I was hoping for heat nerfs, but instead his heat smash is now only -14 on block. But they did nerf down back 4. It has less range now. This is nerfed range. Yoshimitsu's flash now has slightly more recovery. He gained a safe long-range mid-mid string that transitions into his pogo stick stance on hit. The stance also received more transitions and some updates like technically becoming blockable on the jumps, but Yoshi still deals 21 damage on block at a massive frame advantage. His Y standing 1-2 was also sped up to become his 13 frame crouching Punisher. Zafina is being reworked like every other patch. This time they were really creative and they gave her an install mechanic. It's not super impactful, but you can get it pretty easily. It affects only 3 moves and is used by pressing 1+2 when using these moves. Down back 1 is a new move that deals good damage, but it's pretty useless at -14, and the buff only works on hit to increase the damage by 9, but you can change it on block. The install is great on back 3 because you can turn your mid power crush into a safe move on top of dealing chip damage. Back 1+2 has long range, is a homing mid with pushback on block at -6, which is basically a reset. You take 9 chip damage, but your opponent also takes 10 chip damage, so it's pretty even and you can just spam it all day. With the install, you can increase the damage to 37 and change the frames on block to +4 while leaving them closer to you, which is nice. But the biggest reason to use the install on this move is because it also generates a charge on hit by itself. It's a self-sustaining bullshit move. She also gets a new down forward 1-2 follow-up with down forward 1-2 1+2. That's really useless because it doesn't combo and it can be interrupted by anything that would also punish down forward 1-2. That concludes the character-specific changes, but many characters also have been significantly affected by general changes like Power Crush heat engagers losing one of these properties. If a character wasn't in this video, I didn't think the changes were exciting enough. Just assume it's more stance transitions into mix-ups. You may be able to tell that I'm not too fond of the character changes because they mostly promote a low counterplay mix-up offense and they turned like every character into a mix-up stance character. Heat is still absurdly oppressive. It's actually worse. And the combo damage is also higher than ever with all the crazy tailspin options most characters got this patch.